name's Gigi. Right now I'm a sophomore at USC studying film and science, but as you can see I am not there right now because, probably like you, I have been spending a lot of time at home recently. So if you're like me and wondering what on earth is going on right now, or maybe have some more specific questions, I wanted to do my best to give a little update and explain what some of the adults are talking about and maybe lay out some key things. So basically, what's happening is a lot of people are getting sick from this virus called coronavirus, or more specifically, COVID-19. The co is for corona, the VI, the V, is for virus, the D is for disease, and the 19 is because it was discovered in 2019. So coronavirus, COVID-19. But let's look a little bit closer at what the coronavirus is and what it means for the world. So taking a step back, what a virus is basically a lot of these tiny viral particles that go into your body and hijack your normal healthy cells and start recoding them. So instead of creating what the cells are supposed to create, they make whatever the virus wants them to make. So it'd be like if I went into a concert and stole the conductor's conductor stick and started making the band play whatever music I wanted rather than the music that they were supposed to play. That's basically what viruses are doing, and that's what makes you sick. And a lot of times you get sick, it's because of a virus, like the flu or the common cold or chicken pox. But the reason you always get better is because you have special cells in your body called white blood cells, whose only job is to fight off those viral particles. So the coronavirus particles look like this, or this, or this, or this, or this. Who knows? But probably this. The main way the coronavirus differs from a normal flu is, one, it spreads a lot faster because your white blood cells haven't seen it before, so they don't really know what they're fighting. Also, it's not prevented by a flu shot, and for the elderly or people who already have prior health conditions, it can be a lot more serious, which is why we need to be super, super careful right now. One thing to remember is that no one is to blame for this virus emerging. New viruses mutate and form all the time in all different places, and it can be tough to figure out which ones are going to become a big thing or a pandemic. Pandemic, that's another good word to know. All that basically means is that a disease has spread over a really large area, like several continents or Earth. One big question you might have is, am I in danger? Which is a reasonable thing to wonder. And the good news is that while kids can't get the coronavirus, the symptoms present more like flu symptoms. Fever, sore throat, cough, aches, tiredness, maybe a little bit of nausea, maybe a little bit of diarrhea. And while it does suck to be sick, especially when you can't skip school because it's already online, it shouldn't be anything that you haven't gone through before. So unfortunately, the coronavirus does spread super fast and super easily. If I cough somewhere, the particles can stay in the air there for up to 3 hours, and it can stay on surfaces around it for up to 3 days. So because of that, we have to be super careful in public places and try to avoid public places as much as possible. And every time you interact with someone, even if they're young and healthy, you have to think about who they're going to be interacting with. For example, I feel fine, but I could already be carrying the coronavirus and just not be showing symptoms yet. And if I hang out with someone my age and give it to them, they'll probably recover, but they might go home and hang out with people who are at higher risks, like their parents or grandparents. So even when I hang out with someone who's at a low risk of becoming seriously affected by it, I could be endangering the lives of their loved ones who may be at higher risk. So what is flattening the curve? All that means is that we're going to try to slow the spread of the disease. Scientists predict that a whole lot of us are going to end up getting this sucker, but the thing is, if we don't isolate ourselves, everyone could get it at once. And while we may have great hospital systems in place, they're not built to have that much of the population all coming in at once, and they end up running out of supplies and doctors and materials. So if we can slow the spread of the disease, the same number of people might get it, but they'll be going into the hospital at different times, and so there'll be more resources for each person and more doctors to be able to pay attention to them, and that way we can make sure everyone is getting taken care of rather than overwhelming the hospitals all at one time. Okay, so now we know what the coronavirus is. Now what do we do while we wait? Let's start by looking at some inspirational videos to see what people around the world are doing to keep themselves entertained. Here's a high-stakes game of tennis. Meanwhile, on the balconies of Italy, people are singing and playing music, like these two guys. If you feel like you have a lot of energy and nowhere to put it, here's a great inspirational video of a person who turned his kitchen into a gym with just a little bit of dish soap. Unfortunately, it is not all fun and games. Here is a tragic video of a monster wreaking havoc on the city streets. And finally, here's an incredible video of a guy who made a shot-for-shot recreation of the Pixar logo. Virtually identical. I'm not even entirely sure which one is real at this point. Now, before we get into some of the exceptional insight from memes and Twitter, we have a special news update on how global communities are being impacted by the quarantine. Thank you, Gigi. These are trying times. I am reporting live from the kitchen to give you the week's top stories, and no, I am not wearing pants. Our first story tonight is about Thailand. Now, what do you think is going on in Thailand right now? You've probably already guessed it, monkey gangs. That's right, monkeys are forming gangs and taking over the streets in Thailand, shown here in this first-hand video. Now, I'm told usually tourists feed these monkeys, but because that all the tourists are quarantined right now, monkeys are fighting over the smallest amounts of food. Once again, this is a real story. Our next story tonight comes from Wuhan, China, where, like here, classes and homework were made online. Now, they were using an app called DingTalk to submit homework virtually, but obviously, homework sucks. What came next was an inspiring act of unification. Students realized that if an app gets enough one-star reviews, it is forcibly removed from the App Store. So, with tens of thousands of one-star reviews in only 2 nights, the app was removed from the App Store. This only goes to show that when you believe in a cause and rally together, you truly can make the world a better place. Our final story tonight is about the renowned movie Tangled. In Tangled, Rapunzel is isolated from society in a tower. But do you remember what the name of the kingdom she was isolated from was? That's right, Corona. Look it up. Did Disney somehow know that soon we too would be isolated from Corona? More on this story as it comes. Back to you in the living room. Thank you, Gigi, for that top-notch reporting. Now, here's some of the best memes and tweets that have emerged from this quarantine. First, an updated Where's Waldo game. Can you find him? Next, here's a nice reminder that it is the first time in history we can save the human race by lying in front of the TV and doing nothing. Let's not screw this up. Also, lots of stores have ran out of toilet paper because everyone's stocking up at once to try to be prepared for the quarantine, and so this is a meme about that. Here's a quick compilation of a few more, because there are a lot of good ones. At least the spread of this virus is spreading some great content along with it. Now we have a quick update from Fashion Gigi to give you tips on how to stay stylish during the quarantine. Thank you, Gigi. Now for the rare occasion that you do need to leave your house, like for necessities and groceries, make sure you still do it in style, like these people. Our first look, water tank helmet. Now, this is an incredible look because not only is it insanely stylish, but it's also multifunctional. For example, it works as a coronavirus mask, a rain hat, and, in a pinch, a helmet for close combat battle. No matter what you're fighting off, you'll look stylish all along the way. Next up, are you looking for an irresponsible way to waste food in a time where it's extra important to be mindful of resources? If so, look no further than the fruit mask. It may limit your ability to breathe, but at least you'll look stylish as heck while a passerby attempts CPR to return air to your lungs. And speaking of carbon monoxide poisoning, why not go all the way with this timeless look? All you need is a ton of plastic and a taste for dramatic flair. Take that, coronavirus. And I hope you're not so short-sighted as to assume that humans are the only ones benefiting from this fashion renaissance. Here's a glimpse into the latest caption. And if you think that was a one-time thing, think again. Anyway, that's all for the coronavirus fashion report. Stay stylish. So our last segment is some suggestions on how to stay entertained while you're at home. Do a puzzle. This one's obvious, but if you want to do something a little different, you could take an easy puzzle and do it upside down, which will take a little bit longer. And also, when you're done with that, you could even draw a new picture on the back of the puzzle, and then take it apart again, and the next time you can put it together, you can either do the side that it was meant to have, or the side with your own art on it. Dress up your pet. Trust me, they'll love it. And if you don't have pet clothes on hand, make some out of your own clothes or paper or something. I used to love dressing my cats up before my parents gave them both away while I was at college my first year. Listen to a podcast. I love listening to podcasts. I usually listen to nerdy film podcasts, but there is a podcast out there for everyone and everything. I really like podcasts because you can listen to them while you're doing other things like doing a puzzle or crafting. If you're really into random science stuff like I am, you might like a podcast called But Why. Basically, each week they have kid-submitted questions and they answer a few of them, like why is ice slippery, or why do we have nightmares, why are some words bad, who invented words. They even have a whole episode on the coronavirus and they explain it a lot better than I ever could. Another one is called Stuff You Should Know, and each one explains how something in the world works, like how does itching work, or how does free speech work. These episodes can be a little bit longer and a little bit more complex, so I'd recommend them if you're a little bit older. If you're more interested in stories, try listening to The Past and the Curious, which is basically a podcast where comedic actors come on and act out little-known historical stories, and that one's really entertaining and fun. If you're more interested in current events, try listening to Kids News, where it has daily episodes and each one gives you an update on the latest news from current events and politics and sports or science or what have you. They're really short, fun episodes and you can kind of keep up with what's going on in the world, so that's another good one. Make a video. That's what I'm doing. You can make like a vlog or a drama or a commercial. It's a surprisingly effective way to pass time. I'm already on day 3 of looking up jokes and memes and ideas for this video. So yeah, time well spent. Legos. Duh. Games. Obviously, card games and board games are a great way to pass the time, but also you can take it a step further and make your own games. In our house right now, we're playing a game called Who Can Kill the Most Ants in the Kitchen each day, and we have a little tally going for that. Also, you can make up your own board game out of paper or whatever and make up the rules and then have your family play it later. So, games. Great, of course. Bug your parents. This is a good one, but you gotta ration it out each day because you still have to live with them, so you can't pee them off too much. That said, try little things. I like to go into my parents' bathroom and open up all the drawers and cabinets. Then I leave, and it'll drive my dad crazy later. Learn a language. Why not? You've got a lot of time. You can use an app like Duolingo and just spend a few minutes on it every day, or you can spend a lot more time on it every day. You can also learn sign language on an app like ALS Dictionary, which is $5 in the iTunes store. And I think it's a lot of fun because it has every sign language word in it, and you can learn whatever sentences you want to learn or learn the lyrics to songs you like, so there's a fun option. Learn a tongue twister. This is the one I can do. Betty bought her butt some butter, but she says the butter's bitter. If she puts it in her batter, it'll make her batter bitter, but a bit of better butter that'll make her batter better. a YouTube how-to video. This is a great time to learn something new, and there is a YouTube tutorial for virtually anything you can think of. So try doing something like folding origami, or doing yoga, or something you've wanted to learn but haven't had the time to learn. Get in the lake. If you're a Lottawanna lake rat, pop that wetsuit on and jump in the lake, or start bugging your parents about putting the boat in the water and taking you skiing. This is a great time to start that, and you can tell them who sent you. Sleep, but not too much. On the first few days of my quarantine, I slept 14 hours a day. That is too much. Virtually watch a movie with friends. There's a Chrome extension you can use, and you can all watch the same movie, and if one person pauses it, it stays synced for everyone and pauses for everyone, and so you can still have a movie night with friends, it's just online instead of in person. Still fun. Finally, make lists. If there's a lot of stuff you want to do but you can't do because of the quarantine, write it down so you don't forget it later. So there are some ideas to keep you busy. Just remember that even though this virus may be dangerous and scary, by staying inside, we're making a real difference in protecting the health of others. Let's make the best out of this time that we've been given with no social obligations. You know, out of every crisis comes opportunity, so let's use it. Stay healthy, stay isolated, and have fun. Also, you know what, let's have a best dressed pet competition. So send me your pictures of your pet in either a homemade or a store-bought costume, and I'll choose a few of them and send prizes. That's all I have to say, so thank you so much for tuning in, and happy quarantine, Lake Rats!